out to the source of our breath. We cry out because the one that made hearing does hear. The one who formed the eye does see. We cry out to disturb and to interrupt the uneasy silence of those who are asleep in order to rouse them from their beds with the cry, awake, awake, put on strength, O Zion. We cry out to the source of our breath. Church, we, just like George Floyd, just like so many black people being abused and dehumanized on the streets of our cities, have lost our breath. And the collective prophetic voice of the church has seemingly caught laryngitis. We're in the middle of a civil rights movement that for the first time in the history of black America, the church is not at the forefront. The moral voice of black America is missing from the dialogue. The church has lost its breath and needs to be resuscitated. Is burning from the East Coast to the West Coast, that he would get up and try to unite people, try to bring people together, try to condemn the social injustice that brought us to this point. But no, he wants to thugify black folk. When white folk came to Michigan, armed to the teeth, carrying AR-15 rifles, dressed in combat gear, somebody carrying nooses and waving racist Confederate flags, he called them very good people and demanded that the governor of Michigan cut a deal with them and talk to them. But when black folk came to protest the unjust murder of black people, he called us thugs. Yeah, thugification, demonization, and criminalization are all attempts at ultimately dehumanizing us. Because if we can prove that someone is less than human, then we can justify killing them. I can get killed on the street for no reason, shot in the park for playing with a toy, choked to death just because, murdered for being black in a white neighborhood, shot in my car while rushing home to get medicine for my daughter, killed in the stairway for trying to catch an elevator, gunned down in Walmart for holding a toy, all for no price, for no ransom, for no reward, just because I've been labeled as less than human. Oh my God, I'm black, I'm other, I'm not like them. My music is too loud, so I should get killed. My hair is too kinky, so I should get killed. My hair's too nappy, too dreaded. My pants are too saggy. My shoes aren't tied. I'm wearing a hoodie. I walk too fast. I look intimidating. I'm a threat, a menace, a societal scourge, a community casualty, a neighborhood nuisance. I can't win. I can't get a job. I can't get a raise. I can't get a promotion. I can't find no respect. I can't get the benefit of the doubt. I can't make ends meet. I can't breathe. What do I do when I can't breathe?
say his name. Trayvon Martin, say his name. Trayvon Martin, won't you say his name? Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Won't you say his name?
Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, won't you say his name? Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, won't you say her name? Say her name. Say her name. Sandra Bland, say her name. Sandra Bland, say her name. Sandra Bland, won't you say her name? Say her name. 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 Say her name.
Won't you say her name? 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 5 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I definitely want to thank each and every one of you who are tuned in to the spoken word on this morning. Definitely want to thank our remote director, Jim, who's got us live on WTCC over the air to the masses. Well, you know, it's going to be a laid-back kind of morning. We're going to talk about Stop the Steal. You know, the events of this past weekend have been kind of interesting. It's interesting to me whenever Black people are fighting for our rights, and we're fighting for the right, basic human rights. You know, we're fighting for the right to be treated as human beings, to not be extrajudicially murdered on the streets by law enforcement without having a trial or anything like that. We're just fighting for the right to be treated as human beings, and when we express our angst, our frustration with how we have been treated in these yet to be United States of America over the last 400 plus years, and sometimes that angst and that anger and that frustration is played out in a way that people perceive as being nonviolent, even though people perceive as being the opposite of nonviolent, even though we have never been treated nonviolently in America. People get all uptight and they're focusing on, okay, I get that you guys want to march. I get that you guys want to protest, but why are you looting? Why are you breaking windows? Why are you going into the stores? All of that kind of stuff. And, you can't help but look at the hypocrisy of that. Wait a minute, we're protesting being murdered. You ain't gonna focus on that. You ain't gonna say nothing about that. You're gonna talk about breaking into Target. Well, on Saturday, the Patriots, not the New England Patriots, we know y'all been sucking. I had to throw that jab in there to the Patriots fan. Although Steelers have dropped 2 in a row, we're still 11-2 before y'all even start talking smack, okay? But the Patriots because that's what they call themselves. These right-wing conservative bigots. We're in Washington calling themselves protesting the results of the election, because that's what they're protesting, the results of the election. They say they're protesting the election being stolen, but it wasn't no election stolen from no Donald Trump. The clown lost, plain and simple. That's just what it is. So they're protesting losing the election. And so Alex Jones and all kinds of right-wing bigots were down there. And then at the end of it all, they decided they wanted to vandalize. And particularly, they wanted to target Black churches. And they wanted to burn, Black Lives Matter flags and signs from the churches and stuff like that. And not one of these folks who y'all see all over my page and all over the internet and everywhere else, who are always talking about, but why are you looting? No, nobody said nothing about that. I mean, the Proud Boys and all them were out there beating up other white folks. Anybody they consider to be liberal. They were physically attacking them. All kinds of white on white crime was happening this weekend. I'm just wondering, where's the narrative about that? But anyway, we're going to talk about this whole crazy stop the steal tomfoolery, and then whatever else comes to mind. Don't you touch the dial. Stay right there. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Okay? All right. We're coming right back. Here's T. Swan.
Yo, how should I come in? I ain't doing no hood. Give them something fresh or pick a verse out of my notebook. Regardless, I'ma get it in. I'm a hidden gem and a monster with the pen. I remember looking up to Nas, Common, Eminem, Kanye, and Sean Carter made me rhyme harder, but I ain't acting hard. Balls on deck, I'm pulling all these rappers' cards. You don't want a battle, dog. You don't have half the bars I got in my catalog. I'm never slacking off. I never front, but I ain't backing off. Good thing the beat is fire, cause I'm coming at them raw. I got more in store like I'm at a mall. When I'm working, I don't chat at all. Before I had a car, I knew I would travel far. And everything I ever wanted, I'm gonna have it all. Making a lot of blue faces like Avatar. $1 billion flow. You may not know about me, but I'm still a problem, no. Life is getting nuts, it's a rocky road. On the run like a snotty nose. Till I'm someone everybody knows. Our body flows, got a lot of those. I'm not a gimmick and I'm not a troll. All my fans say I gotta blow. Grade A bars, I'm on a roll. On fire like marijuana road. It's room in the bandwagon if you wanna roll, but it's gonna be a long ride to where I'm trying to go. I could have made a hook for this, but I wanted to rap. I heard the beat and I knew I had the body to track. Going so hard, they tell me that I gotta relax. A lot of rappers, but a lot of them whack. When I go to the studio and I hop on the track, I make it my house like I'm paying the property tax. My whole life I've been at where I'm at. I ain't gassed up, so I don't need a pat on the back. Even though it's hard because I rap and I'm black, but I'm a talented cat. Matter of fact, I'm a beast with it. I'm gonna always be different. I hear different, see different. 2020 almost over and you still got weak vision. I got what the streets missing, and I'ma keep hitting. They can't compete with them. Not even if you had 3 wishes, cause I'm in another league with it. And my team vicious, we geniuses. You getting washed like clean linens. Me written since I was 15, spitting in the cut, trying to get up on the scene with it. I'm always putting in work cause I mean business. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what form of protest we take on. They said you ought to be more like Dr. King. And I have to remind all of white America, when Dr. King locked arms and marched nonviolently, y'all put water hoses on them. You sick dogs on them. You put batons upside their head. You shot them and killed them and murdered them and lynched them in the street when we were nonviolent. How dare you tell us to go back to being nonviolent when you didn't hear us then? It really doesn't matter what form of protest we take to redress our grievances. White America is yet not willing to hear us. The president said yesterday that we hear you. He said, we hear your pleas. We support the right to non-violent protest. He's a liar, and his mama is too. Because when Colin Kaepernick and others were kneeling non-violently, this same president stood on his bully pulpit and called them thugs and called them hoodlums. And white America stood up and said they were unpatriotic. Well, if we can't kneel non-violently and protest and be heard, maybe, God help me here, they gotta loot Target and burn down police stations in order to get your attention. And wait, let me pause parenthetically right there and say unto you, I'm tired of y'all who are tripping about Target being looted, but you ain't tripping about the targets of white supremacy being murdered. Oh, God help me preach it.
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie, why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly lies themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger.
All right, it's one of my favorites.
Remember this.
Daddy talk. A lot of
there is a tree, and in
the
tree there is a
lot of good information in that. Ferris Hill. Y'all pick that one up, okay? 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867 is the number here. You know, if you want to chime in on the conversation, more than willing, we're more than welcome to do that. Now, you know, if you call in with foolishness, y'all know I'm going to check you. Don't get your feelings hurt, you know, like my man did last week when he said, man, you're a coward. You hung up the phone on me. Yeah. I don't suffer foolishness very well. So I don't mind you calling in, but have something to say. Have something of value to say, something substantive to say when you do call in. Just don't call me with tomfoolery. That's all. You know, ain't no big deal. You know, that's not too much to ask, is it? You know. 413-337-1867 is the number. You know, what's been going on in the country has been nothing short of just downright embarrassing. And I know, you know, perhaps we're not embarrassed because, you know, we're black people in America. I'm sure there's some who aren't, who listen to me, but I mean, for the most part, black folk in America have no reason to be embarrassed by the actions of white supremacists in America. But from the vantage point that the guy in the White House is supposed to be the president of these yet to be United States of America, and he's acting like a spoiled, petulant child who didn't get his way. And so, you know, he's having daily temper tantrums. You know, he's jumping up and down, having embarrassing temper tantrums, embarrassing America in front of the entire world. It's sickening. It's craziness. And the fact that you got a bunch of white folks, predominantly white folks, who are marching on Washington on his behalf, as if he's really been cheated out of something. You know, as if some, you know, the amazing thing about this is white men, and there's no way you can refute this. White men are the most privileged people on the planet. Okay, white supremacy, which is global, which is not a phenomenon that is unique to America. It is global. Okay, benefits them more than anyone else. I mean, they're the perpetrators of it, the purveyors of it. They are the ones who make sure that it continues and that it keeps going. And they are the beneficiaries of it. And yet and still, we see this phenomenon of white men complaining, moaning, and groaning as if they are the ones that are mistreated in the world. That's really the narrative that they've been trying to push for some time now, that poor white men are so abused. They're so mistreated. I mean, you know, the poor little white man. I mean, you know, and here's one who was born into wealth, was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, never had to work for anything. Everything handed to him on a silver platter. The schools he went to, he didn't go to because he was smart. He went to because daddy got him into them. The opportunities he had because daddy made sure he had the opportunities. The money he had because daddy gave it to him. The businesses he inherited because daddy had them. So 46 minus 1 has never had to work for anything. You guys who keep trying to flip his narrative, talking about he's a self-made billionaire. No, he's not. Stop it. Just cut it out. And then because he's a white male who enjoys white male privilege, he failed up. Failed up. What do I mean he failed up? Well, when most people experience or behave in the manner that 46 minus 1 has, it has a detrimental effect on their careers. Okay? They lose opportunities. You know, this guy has had federal lawsuits filed against him for discriminating against black people. This man has been sued umpteen times, has filed umpteen number of bankruptcies, has not paid his workers. I mean, the list goes on and on to the break of dawn. You know, all these bankruptcies and mismanagement of money and stealing from a charity and all of this stuff. I mean, the average person, all of the things that this guy has done would have derailed their career. But not this guy. He fails up to the presidency of America. He failed up to the presidency. And all he has done since he's been there is moan and whine and complain about how mistreated he is. Woe is me. People don't like me. Woe is me. The media, the fake news. Woe is me. I'm being treated very unfairly. Woe is me. It's what we've heard for 4 years from the dude who is supposed to be arguably the most powerful man in the world. But woe is me, I'm being treated so unfairly. I mean, I literally have the code to blow the world up, go into nuclear war. I literally am over a budget that is in the hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars. I control all of the various departments and arms of the U.S. government. I'm the commander in chief of the U.S. military, but woe is me, I'm treated so unfairly. This is the narrative that we've heard for 4 years. You know, the plight of the oppressed white man. And so they marched on Washington yesterday. And here's the thing. There were people who had the unmitigated caucasity to compare a bunch of mostly white bigots marching on Washington with the actual March on Washington of August 28th, 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Justice by Black people. And they're saying stuff like, it's the same thing. We've been treated unfairly and we're marching for our rights. No, you're marching because the bigot that you want to be in the White House lost an election. You're not marching because the Klan is lynching y'all and nobody's going to jail for it. You're not marching because you can't vote. You're not marching because you don't get fair wages and you can't find decent jobs and you're being locked out of them because of the color of your skin. You're not marching because you can't drink from a certain water fountain, or you can't stay in a certain hotel, or you can't ride on certain transportation because you happen to be Black. Come on, stop it, y'all. Cut it out. But these folk had really had the nerve to be acting like they are marching for the same reasons Black folks marched back in 1963. Y'all need to be slapped for saying stuff like that. That's insane. No, you're not being abused. You're not being dehumanized. You're not being brutalized. You're not being oppressed. The Mango Mussolini that you wanted to win the election lost. That's what you're marching for. And he lost fair and square. There was no voter fraud. There was no election fraud. And we're cognizant that the only places you're claiming there was voter fraud and election fraud are in 4 predominantly Black cities. So out of all of the cities and towns and districts and counties and various entities that vote in America, the only entities that cheated were 4 predominantly Black cities, were Atlanta, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. For real, I mean, is that a coincidence that they just all happen to be over 50% Black? Some like like Detroit, 80% Black. That the only place there was voter fraud and election fraud was in these places. Come on, man. Y'all not mad about voter fraud. Y'all are mad about black voters. Can we just keep it a buck? This ain't got nada, nothing, squat to do with voter fraud. It has everything to do with black voters. Okay? And watch the progression, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the progression. The progression is, if you go back to 2012, notice the similar pattern of behavior. If you go back to 2012, a bunch of white Republican attorney generals from various states filed or joined in or supported the Shelby County versus Holder lawsuit that basically said the Voting Rights Act was unconstitutional. Okay? All of these Republicans joined in and said, yeah, hell yeah, we're going to support that. And the Supreme Court ruled that Section 4B of the Voting Rights Act, that basically was a formula that calculated voter suppression behavior. And then based on that formula, a number of cities, towns, townships, municipalities, counties were included in a pocket of places that had to get pre-clearance by the government before they could change any voter-related laws, regulations, rules. So before they could close down voting locations, before they could say, hey, you've got to bring an ID, before they could change the hours of voting or do anything that could be considered suppressive, they had to get pre-clearance by the federal government. If they tried to do it, the federal government could come in and shut it down. So places that had a history of suppressing black votes fell in that category based on Section 4. And then Section 5 kicked in because that was the enforcement. So you had places like Georgia, Mississippi, and even some places up north, certain counties and stuff that engaged in suppressive behavior. So if Georgia decided or Mississippi decided we want to do A, B, and C, then Section 5 kicks in. The Department of Justice could come in and say, no, we're shutting that down. You can't do that. That was the strength of the enforcement arm of the Voting Rights Act. This suit that was brought before the Supreme Court caused the Supreme Court to say Section 4, the formula, is unconstitutional because it's based on data and information from 40 years ago, and it's no longer relevant. So we're going to rule this formula unconstitutional. And Congress has to come up with another formula that will then decide what places need pre-clearance. And so when you say Section 4 is unconstitutional, you nullify Section 5 because now you have no cities, towns, municipalities, or counties that fall into the category of needing pre-clearance. So basically, without just abolishing the Voting Rights Act altogether, they neutered it. They rendered it moot, unenforceable. That's what they did. That ruling came in 2013 after a 2012 lawsuit. Notice the pattern of behavior. Somebody or entity files a lawsuit that is targeted at the voting rights of black people. A bunch of other Republican attorney generals join in support of that lawsuit. That's what happened in the Texas lawsuit that the Supreme Court refused to hear. The Attorney General of Texas, who is currently under indictment and is currently being investigated by the FBI. So basically all he was doing was auditioning to get a pardon by Trump. Filed a lawsuit against Georgia, Pennsylvania, um, Wisconsin, the swing states that beat Donald Trump because they're mad at Atlanta, so they filed a charge against Georgia. They're mad at Philly, they filed against Pennsylvania. They're mad at Detroit, so they filed against Michigan, and basically wanted the Supreme Court to nullify, invalidate all of the votes of those states, allow the state legislatures to select their own electors that would support Trump, and basically give the electoral votes of those states, 60 some odd electoral votes, would give them to Trump, take them from Biden, and thus give Trump the presidency. That was the lawsuit. Basically, it was about invalidating black votes. That was the gist of that Texas lawsuit. Let's invalidate the votes of these N-words in Atlanta, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Detroit, and thus give their states to Donald Trump. And 24 other attorney generals, Republican white attorney generals from various states, joined in support of that lawsuit. Once again, attempting to target the votes and suppress the votes of black people. What does this say, ladies and gentlemen? After the 2012 suit, after this suit, is basically they are targeting the rights of black people to vote in America. They don't want us to be able to determine the outcome of an election. They don't mind if we pick cotton. They just have a problem with us being able to pick presidents. That's the issue. You know, we don't mind y'all picking cotton, but when y'all start picking presidents, we need to start going to court, and we need to do all that is within our power to invalidate and to suppress the votes of black people. That's what that's about. And then at the same time, of course, we want to give the election to the white supremacist that's been in office for the last 4 years. It's reprehensible. Nothing that they're saying happened actually happened. Nothing. There's no proof of any of it. All these wild and crazy conspiracy theories. No, Gina Haspel, the director of the FBI, was not shot in a shootout in Germany. She was not protecting a server, a Dominion server that was responsible for flipping votes from Trump to Biden. No, Obama has not been arrested for espionage. Oh, no, there were not boxes and boxes of votes for Biden that they stuffed in the machines in the late night hours so that they could give the election to Biden. No, that's called counting the mail-in votes that could not be counted until after the election by order of the Republican legislatures. You see the irony of it? The irony of it is in places like Georgia and Pennsylvania, Republicans blocked them from being able to count the mail-in ballots first. Said, no, you can't count them first. You got to wait until after the election. So what happens is on election day, because Trump told his people, don't vote by mail-in ballot. So most of them showed up on election day at the polls and got counted on the election day voting tallies. So then once the election day voting tallies were counted, it looked like Trump was leading in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin. Looked like Trump was leading. in Michigan. But then when you open up and start counting the mail-in ballots, most black people voted by mail-in ballots. Most black people voted for Biden. When you start counting the mail-in ballots, those states, in those states, Biden starts catching up to Trump, narrowing his lead, eventually surpassing him. So they say, no, that's voter fraud. That's voter fraud. You're stuffing the ballot boxes for Biden. No, that's called counting the mail-in ballots. It's math. It's math. It's real simple. You know, it's real simple. And I mean, look, let's just put it in simple math. If 100 people come on election day, okay, and 65 of them vote for you and 35 of them vote for me, it looks like on election day you're whooping me in that election. But if we got 100 mail-in ballots, watch the math now. If we got 100 mail-in ballots and 80% of the mail-in ballots are for me and only 20% are for you, your 65 goes to 85. Okay? And my 35 goes to 115. And I win. You see how that works? That's what happened in this election. There was no voter fraud. There was no election fraud. There was no flipping ballots and all this kind of crazy stuff. And what's dangerous about this, ladies and gentlemen, is you got 70 million mostly white folks in America who are buying this crazy conspiracy theory nonsense, marching in the streets and being violent as a result of a lie, stoked by the president of these yet to be United States of America. That's where America is in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic where 300,000 people have died. America is a political dumpster fire. Its priorities are all screwed up. It is absolutely insane. Then let me take a sidebar. Let me take this sidebar. 413-337-1867 is the number if you want to chime in on the conversation. Love to hear your perspective. But I'm gonna take a sidebar because in the middle of all of this, now yesterday they decided that they were going to attack. They were going to attack Sasha Obama because there was a picture of her that appeared online with her belly button showing. You know, back when I was a kid, what was it called, y'all? That the girls used to wear halter tops or something like that. Anyway, you know, that would cover on the here and their belly button would show or something like that. This is nothing new. This is something that has been going on for time immemorial. That women and girls have worn things like that. And so they started calling her all kinds of whores and sluts. Said she looked like a prostitute and a porn star. Yada, yada, yada. Mostly your right-wing Republican Trump supporting types. And the problem I have with that is, A, you're attacking a 19-year-old girl. She's a grown woman, but you know, I've got children that are much older than she is. Okay. My oldest daughter is 35. I've got 5 daughters, beautiful young ladies. And I, as a father of black daughters, it hits me the wrong way when crazy racist white folk are attacking a young black woman. But then what really kills me is the caucasity, the hypocrisy, the cognitive dissonance of white folks. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, is for the last 4 years, we have had literally, as the first lady of the USA, we have had a soft porn model. Okay? Y'all out here talking about Sasha Obama and calling her everything but a child of God, calling her all kinds of prostitutes and porn stars. But the first lady that y'all rant about and talk about is so elegant and classy is actually a soft porn model. You can Google her breast and her behind and any of her body parts. Right now, you can Google and find all her body parts hanging out all over the internet. But y'all say she's classy. And Sasha Obama is the porn star. Y'all support and y'all marched on Washington in support of a dude who actually bangs porn stars and pays them 6 figures to keep it quiet, paid them out of campaign funds to keep their little affair quiet. So you got an actual soft porn model in the White House, and you got a guy who actually pays porn stars for sex in the White House, and y'all calling Sasha Obama a porn star because her belly button is showing. Y'all really have the hell of a nerve. Y'all got the hell of a nerve. The hell of a nerve to talk this nonsense. But this is the hypocrisy of this crew. This same crew, you had people like Pat Robertson who castigated Michelle Obama because she wore a dress that had no sleeves. God forbid. Her arms are showing. Oh my God. How blasphemous is that? That's so unladylike. That's so unbecoming. But then he called Melania Trump's nude pictures a work of art that demonstrated God's brilliance. Wait, hold up. So Melania, with her anorexic behind, showing everything that her mama gave her, demonstrates God's beauty and is a work of art. But Michelle Obama showing her arms is unbecoming as a first lady. Do you see the hypocrisy of these folks? Do you see the double and the triple standard of these people? It's insane. It's insane. And so this whole stop the steal thing, police are investigating as possible hate crimes the vandalism of 2 predominantly black churches, historically black churches. They targeted these churches because they are historic black churches in the DC area. So the Proud Boys and the other white supremacists, you know, Trump's very fine people, are targeting they targeted 2 historic black churches in the DC area to vandalize and to take their signs and burn them. Okay? Take their signs, Black Lives Matter signs and other signs, and burn them. It was during this violent pro-Donald Trump demonstration. But they're always talking about Black Lives Matter. They're always talking about looting and burning stuff. And then they go down and they loot and they burn black churches. And they beat up other white people in the streets. But nobody's calling them thugs and savages like they call us, right? You know, we do stuff like that. We're thugs and savages. Yeah. They do it and silence. The white evangelical community, silent. Somebody tore down banners that were supporting the anti-racism movement. Matter of fact, they were tearing down banners from at least 3 churches Saturday night. They're down there spreading corona all over the place because they were down there with no mask. These so-called Stop the Steal protesters marching through the nation's capital, falsely claiming that the election was stolen from Trump. And the DC Metro Police say that they are aware of the incidents and they encourage anybody with any information to call them or to text them. They say they take the incidents seriously and they're investigating them as possible hate crimes. Right? You got these pro-Trump demonstrators, including members of the Proud Boys, other far-right extremist groups that all turn violent. All right. 4 people were stabbed. Okay. This is the pro-Trump rally. 4 people were stabbed. They're vandalizing churches. They're burning stuff. Okay. And I don't see the outrage by your typical conservatives who would be talking all kinds of smack if this stuff happened at a Black Lives Matter protest. But alas, the double standard. It's okay if people get stabbed and if things get burned and if churches get vandalized at a pro-Trump rally. That's okay. You know, those people are just good patriots that are fed up because you're trying to steal the election. So that's all right if they burn and loot and stab people. That's excusable when they do it, right? I mean, how big of hypocrites are y'all? How big of hypocrites are y'all? Y'all is some hypocrites. I mean, it is pathetic. Oh my God. Y'all are pathetic. But this is the double standard we're living with. Let me turn for a minute locally. Here in the city of Springfield, the city of homes, we are still dealing with trying to get this administration to do right and be honest about police reform in this city. there's some things that are going on that have me very, very, very concerned. First is the lack of transparency. There's all this talk about reforms that are being instituted, but yet and still the administration is not forthcoming in releasing any of that information. We put out a Freedom of Information request for them to show us exactly what changes have been made, to show us exactly what reforms have been made, and they haven't given us anything yet. They asked for more time and extension on our Freedom of Information request, and so we're waiting. A lot of smoke and mirror, a lot of talk, a lot of window dressing. The contract with Judge Roderick Ireland, the establishment of an Office of Racial Equity. It remains to be seen if any of these are substantive things that is really going to exact any level of change, or if this is just window dressing so that you can try to prove to the DOJ that you're making change in this corrupt city, in this corrupt police department. The jury is out on that, and we'll see. We'll have some more conversation about this, but we're not giving up on holding this administration's feet to the fire, at holding them accountable for real police reform in our city. So please pay attention to what we're doing as the NAACP, as other groups like the Pioneer Valley Project around this particular issue. Pay attention also to the police reform efforts. Governor Baker did not sign the police reform bill. He sent it back with proposed amendments. We wanted him to sign it as it was. He didn't do that. So we're back to considering those amendments, it going back to both houses and them deciding how they're going to handle that. I don't understand why police accountability is such a controversial subject. And let me back that up. I do understand, because when it's Black lives that are being snuffed out by police misconduct, I completely understand why there's a reticence to call for real police accountability. And when you look at the police lobby and how strong it is, because they lobbied Governor Baker not to sign that bill. When you look at the strength of the police lobby, you understand. And when white folks look at it and say, hey, our boys and girls are not being shot by police, with the justice system works for us, so we don't have a problem. We don't need police reform. We like policing as it is. So I get it. I get why y'all are reluctant to sign off on real police reform in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and anywhere in America, because policing as it is works for white folks. It works for y'all. It doesn't work for the majority of us, unfortunately. And we need real police reform. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. We meet on Sunday morning for 11 o'clock. We take your temperatures. We require masks. We do sanitizing. We do social distancing. If you're in the sanctuary, and we stream live on Facebook and YouTube, you can check us out, and you can consider supporting the ministry through our Cash App and our Givelify as well. You can go to our website, 413hope.org. Don't forget our Wednesday night virtual service is at 7:30 on Wednesday night. We're going to continue on with our streaming audience after we sign off with WTCC. Remember, the NAACP, Greater Springfield NAACP, meets virtually every fourth Tuesday. So we will be meeting the fourth Tuesday of this month. Check out our Facebook page for all the details on the meeting information. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. Streaming audience, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. I got big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. I got big dreams. I'm designed to be rhyming on big screens. Flow been clean, ill with the 16s. I've been broke, but I hope I can fix things. Trying to see big green. If I don't get seen, then I'ma have to act out, make a big scene. I done learned that it's all just a big scheme. Who you know that's so nice, spitting this mean. Still ain't heard the fat chick sing. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. I got big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Need a big house, bigger walls, bigger cars. Ain't ready to die, but wanna be big as Biggie Smalls. Need a big bag. Get you haters big mad when I hear the chit chat. All I do is kick back and I do work. Chasing a bag and I ain't talking about a new purse. But no amount of money can equal my true worth. Y'all be so gassed up you could probably pollute earth. Making it feel good cause the truth hurt. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. I got big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. You gotta grind for the shine. Big stacks on my mind all the time. It's big facts. Yeah. Yeah. This one is for all the brothers that passed, but more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember
y'all need to get that Swan music. He got some new stuff out. Check it out.
She seen somebody post RIP with his name, and I said I doubt it's the
Don't
same
y'all go
friend I
nowhere.
had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check and call me back. Said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked, and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling lonely and weak. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of, cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. Just under 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was was hard, he was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst feeling is knowing that you would leave us in all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. Cause that information I wouldn't have ever imagined. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me
Crazy.
But looking back on it, now I see all the time that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily.
He's my boy, my namesake, y'all. Y'all need to get his music.
Yeah, was born a son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do mine with rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me. It started off with little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public, cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, is it that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me. But please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Don't discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't pointing fingers, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all, because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it, now I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why.
All right, 413-337-1867. If you want to get in on the convo, phone lines are opened right now. I guess nobody wanted to holler at a brother during the first hour of the show, which is good. Pontificating, talking, that's what I do. So, I can always fill an hour. That ain't no sweat. But definitely, if you want to give me a call, please do so. Let's just be honest about the fact that if black folk had done this weekend what white folk did this weekend, they'd be all over the media talking about how reprehensible it was. They'd be calling us all kinds of thugs, all kinds of savages. They'd be talking all kinds of nonsense about, how violent we are, and you don't have to destroy things just to protest, and all that kind of stuff. They be saying all of that. Y'all know they would be saying it. They would be saying it. Yet, tube tops. You got it, Juanita. Thank you. That's what they were called. Tube tops. Yeah. Belly button showing. And people tripping about that. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Stop it. Stop playing. Yeah, you took me way back. My sisters used to wear those things. And could you imagine white folks calling your sisters hoes, the sluts, and porn stars because they got a tube top on, because their belly button is showing? That's what white folks are on the internet. That's why Sasha Obama is midriff top. Okay, that's why Sasha Obama is trending, because her belly button is showing. And the folks who say malaria, I know her name is Melania, but the folks who say malaria is classy are the same one calling this 19-year-old a slut because she got her belly button showing. But the woman handcuffed to a suitcase, bucket naked on Trump's plane, is classy. I mean, y'all hypocrisy knows no bounds. I mean, good morning, Chris. It has no boundaries. It's crazy. It's crazy. Exactly, Gene. Destructive behavior. Destructive behavior. And you know, if that was black folks, peace, Donna. If that was black folks down in the nation's capital, wilding out like that, come on, man. No, come on. And they did finally break out some cops in the riot gear and stuff, but they would have been out there with riot gear on at the beginning if it was a Black Lives Matter protest. They'd have had 300 or 400 cops out there ready to clash. These white folks come down to the nation's capital wilding out, and the narrative is completely different. It's all about, they're expressing their frustration and their anger and their this and their that. What the hell do you think we be expressing? The only difference is we express our anger and frustration over real stuff, like y'all murdering us, not over our preferred candidate losing an election. Yes, shout out Charlie Pride. Charlie Pride, unfortunately lost his life.
Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
Oh, this is Jules. This might be off topic, man, but I just want to congratulate you on that L yesterday, and Bishop, we're going to need your prayers for my I just got back from doing some emergency shopping because there's snow outside. I was like, let me call up. Yeah, man, it's good to hear you on the air, brother.
You going to congratulate me on the L, okay.
On that L.
I appreciate that.
I just couldn't resist. This Jules calling. You know, I try to tune in your show every Monday and Thursdays, whenever it comes on. I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. All right. You too. Take care.
All right.
He congratulated me on the L that the Steelers took. We did. We took another L. We're 11-2. 2 L's in a row. We'll be back next week. We'll be back. We will be back. 413-337-1867. But yeah, you know that they would be tripping. Y'all know they would be tripping hard if black folk were wilding like that. And once again, like I said, we trip over real stuff, real live stuff that is happening to us. We're not out here tripping over boo-hoo-hoo, our guy lost, so we're going to tear the nation apart. This is spoiled. This is affluenza. This is spoiled behavior. This is we're not getting our way, so we're having a temper tantrum type of behavior. This is what's happening in the nation. Spoiled white folks not getting their way. I said to someone that Trump's behavior in not winning this election, he doesn't know how to handle it when people tell him no, because all of his life he's gotten whatever he wanted. He's got whatever he wanted. Everything handed to him on a silver platter. And if someone ever told him no, he was able to do 3 things. And those 3 things have been taken away from him regarding this election. See, in the past, whenever someone told him no, He could either bribe them, okay, fire them, or in many cases with all of these women, rape them. If they said, no, Donald, I'm going to take it anyway, I'm going to rape you. That's why he got 25 women who have accused him of rape. I'll fire them or I'll bribe them. He can't rape, fire, or bribe his way into winning this election. That's the quandary he's in. That's why he's acting, I don't know, I almost said erratic, but he always acts erratic. But I guess erratic in terms of normal Trump behavior is still erratic. That's why he's acting the way that he's acting. Because his frustration level is at an all-time high because I can't bully my way into winning this. I can't rape my way to get what I want. I can't bribe my way to get what I want. I can't fire enough people to get what I want. How do I get what I want? So he's flailing around, rage tweeting and acting even more of an idiot than he normally acts. Because he's at a loss now, not being able to get his way. And what's sad, brothers and sisters, what's really, really, really sad are the number of people around him, the number of people who surround him and enable this kind of behavior. They enable this behavior. I mean, these Republicans in the legislature who are literally co-signing his foolery ought to be ashamed of themselves. The 24 Republican attorney generals who filed that crazy lawsuit ought to be ashamed of themselves. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's insanity. It is insanity. White men upset because they can't get their way. Petulant children is what they act like when they can't get their way. Now, somebody help me understand. And I know this is off topic. I'm used to my Instagram stream cutting off after an hour and having to restart it. But it didn't cut off this time around. So maybe, just maybe, I don't know. Maybe they changed some things. Maybe they changed it where it doesn't cut off after an hour anymore. That'll be a good thing, because that was somewhat kind of frustrating, that you'd have to continue to restart when you were on the air for longer than an hour. So if that's the case, which I'm assuming that's the case, because I've been on for longer than an hour now, and my IG stream is still rolling, so I'm going to assume they must have made some changes to it, and we get to be on for longer. So wonderful. Great. Welcome. Thank you, all of y'all who are still with me on Instagram. I'll be on for about another 12 minutes. 413-337-1867 is the number if you want to get in on the things that we've been talking about this morning. just a lot of crazy, a whole bunch of crazy going on in the nation. But we've got 30 some odd days left, and we've got 30 some odd days left, and bottom line is this dude is going to be out of the White House no matter what. He's going to be out of the White House. He's going to be out of the White House one way or another. The bottom line, he'll be gone. He will be gone. Out of the White House. Done. Finito. Finished. And if he's got to be carried out by the Secret Service, then he'll be carried out by the Secret Service. Bottom line, that's the way it goes. It's kind of pathetic, but hopefully on the other side of this, we'll be able to put all of this foolery behind us and move on. And I'm not saying that the nation is going to be perfect under Joe Biden. We got our own issues to deal with Joe Biden, for sure. But Trump was an existential threat we had to get rid of. Swan music, Teresa, you can get it anywhere music is streamed. You can get him on Apple Music, you can get him on Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, wherever you stream music, you can get Swan's music. Okay, appreciate you showing that support. Yes, two standards in America. Black folks get out there fighting, looting, and tearing up stuff. They call us thugs, criminals. Yep. White folks do it. The Proud Boys, white supremacy, treated a whole different way. Right, exactly. And that's my thing. Where was the call, Brother Moore? Where were they being called thugs and hoodlums and savages and all of that? They weren't. Yeah, mother, he is acting like him. He's acting like himself. Complete fool. Bernard Smith. My thoughts, Casey Goodson man, that case is so sad. I don't even have time with the rest of what I got on this show to get into that, but that's something we need to dig into a little more, Brother Smith, for sure. Zombies still supporting him. Yeah, they got to be zombies. They got to be crazy. They got to be something. Brother Stokes, good day to you. All right, we can get up, my brother, for sure. Let me take the number down. I'm going to shut the phone line down. Once again, NAACP meets every fourth Tuesday. Of the month. We'll be meeting via the Zoom platform. So check out our Facebook page and Greater Springfield NAACP, and we'll put the information up so you know how to chime in. And if you want to become a member, you can become a member. Listen, annual membership of the NAACP is only $30 a year. Come on, black folks. I said $30 a year. There is no reason why you should not be a member. You should not support. And let me tell you this, and I'm just being 100. Most of the people who complain about what the NAACP is or ain't doing are always the people who never support it who don't ever volunteer, who don't ever come to a meeting, and who are too cheap to pay a $30 membership. That's the common thing with most of the folks who are always complaining about what somebody ain't doing. My question to you, brothers and sisters, is what are you doing? Because, see, we're all experts at talking about what Brother Swan ain't doing, what the NAACP ain't doing, what these preachers ain't doing. Well, what the hell are you doing? That's the question. What are you doing to better the community that we live in? What are you doing to advance the cause of justice? And if you don't have a resume of accomplishment, if you don't have a body of work to back up your name, I suggest you shut up about critiquing what somebody else is or ain't doing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay? So that's what it is. Those are my little thoughts on it. It's, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Bottom line. You're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And too often, it's always the problem folks that do the most complaining about stuff. There are too many organizations that you could be involved with. And you don't have to be involved necessarily with the NAACP. All kinds of organizations. Got the W.E.B. Du Bois Academy helping young Black boys. You got the girls, Boys and Girls Club Family Center that are in the South End Community Center that are nurturing our young people. You can volunteer. I'm sure they could use your help and your assistance. All your churches out here have various programs and things that are going on in the churches. They're feeding hungry folk. They're catering to our seniors. They're helping our young people. There are all kinds of ways that you can volunteer time, that you can write a check, that you can support an organization that is doing something. There's far too much going on for us to always be complaining about what so-and-so ain't doing, and this one ain't doing, and that one ain't. What are you doing? That's my question. That's my final sermon for today. It's what are you doing? Ask yourself, what am I doing? What have I done to advance the cause of justice in my community? What have I done to affect the lives of young people, or to push the next generation, or to empower them? What have I done? So before you get on your horse and make your critique, ask that question, because that's the question I always ask folks. When they come for me, I always tell them, look, I can tell you what I'm doing every day, and I can tell you what I've done. Okay? I've got 3 decades worth of documented work to back me up. And I got work that I'm doing every day to advance the cause of justice. I can tell you specifically what I'm doing, all of the organizations I'm involved with, and I'm helping to advance the cause of justice. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you what you doing when you want to come for me. All right. I don't know why I got on that. I just felt compelled to put that out there. Once again, you can worship with us at the Spring of Hope Church, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts. Sundays at 11 a.m. Our virtual service is Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. So tune in to that. It's always a pleasure being with you, Springfield, and all the rest of y'all from around the valley and around the world via the internet. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I.
You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody gotta tell themselves it's all right if you got it now. Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You've got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. May not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicidal. Homicidal. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime. Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant.